All right, ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? This is your boy Megaman again, and this time we're doing something really different, right? So normally in podcasts, if you're doing interviews, you got one person. But what fun would that be if you're just one person? This time we have two people, two legends from the Big Blue HF community of themselves, right? And they have blessed. I mean, I'm honored to have them on my podcast at this point. So, introducing everyone to Gnosticmessiah and Knocktsukow. What is going on, you guys?
It was good, Megaman. First of all, thanks for having us, on your show, and good evening, everybody. This is, Knocktsukow from obviously the 1UP Street Fighter community as well as the Fightcade. I play on both platforms, but just want to say, excited to be on your show and looking to talk a little bit more Street Fighter here.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much. And to Gnosticmessiah, what's going on, my guy? Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing good. Thank you for having us on. This is Gnosticmessiah. I play primarily on 1UP. It's a knock that actually got me on 1UP. It's a very fun platform, minus the latency issues, that we all know about. There's a lot to talk about. I appreciate you having us on.
Absolutely. And then I definitely appreciate you guys. I mean, the honor is all mine, man. I mean, you guys definitely, I'm happy you guys took the time out of your day to kind of give this interview. And I mean, this is a first. The fact that I'm interviewing two people, and you did say you guys' friendship does go back over 30 plus years. So this is actually pretty awesome, to have at this point. So, all right, so let's just get into it. So tell me, and whoever wants to begin. I mean, where did it begin? Where did it begin for you guys? Tell me.
Jeff, you want to lead it? Because it was at your uncle's store that we met. So.
Sure. It's funny that three of us are originally from New York, right? So growing up in the 90s, obviously I used to work in a video game store called Busy Bee in Flushing, Queens. So that time, Street Fighter just released through Super Nintendo, and we had a demo tape set up. So I was just beating every cat out there, thinking I was the top Billy badass. And then I was pretty much like, is there no one else that could take me down, right? As a young 13-year-old, just naive, doing what 13-year-olds do. And then you got Gnosticmessiah raise his hand and say, yeah, I'll take on that challenge. So he was the first one to really just take that Super Nintendo controller, just kind of whip me and start doing the cross-up and some of the moves I've never seen before. I was like, man, this guy can really play. And then next thing we found out that we went to the same school, IS-237 public school. And then we just kind of connected that way and started to play Street Fighter after school. And he was one of the better players during that time. There was no online community, and we just kind of got connected and just played a lot of Street Fighter growing up, I guess.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'll have to say I definitely had an advantage, because when the Japanese version came out, I recall the price of being $150, and I remember selling everything I had to get that game. And I also had to get the converter, because you remember the Super Nintendo, the Super Famicom, you had to either burn the back or get a converter. So it was another $30 for that converter, so it was $180 plus tax, so $200. So at that age, you didn't have a lot of money, obviously. So I remember I sold whatever games I had just to get that game. And I played it every day. And then going to the Busy Bee Mall, I saw Jeff. I used to buy games from his uncle. And I saw Jeff there. That's when we started playing. But I knew the cross up, with Ken. So doing that to Knock, he didn't know what to block left or right. He didn't know what was going on.
Wow.
So that's how I got into it. And it's a very experiential thing to think about, because it's. This game we've been playing so long, we're still playing it even at this age. Different platforms. We have a small community now with 1UP and the Facebook page. But it's very cool, just to be here now doing that.
That's pretty awesome. Back in the early 90s, for me, I think back in the early 90s, I think the first game I roughly played was New Challengers. But in pizza stores in Brooklyn, there were a lot of HF cabs that's out there.
Right.
One of it being, I remember when it was I think it was the Japanese version that I first saw. And I did play some HF there, and I remember this was like, what, 6-year-old me at this point, and it was on pretty much, not on a big blue, but it was like one of those, like, I want to call them like those standard cabs that kind of has the straight 6 buttons right there. And I was like, man, this is pretty awesome. And when I was playing, and yeah, I kind of, not gonna lie, if my mom hears this, I did came home from school super late, and I kind of lied and said, oh, I was at after school program. Not really. I was really playing some HF at a pizza store with some friends, and we didn't leave until like maybe 7:30 that night. Like, we got out of school like 3:30, but man, we were just there for like 4 hours, like wasting quarters and everything like that. But yeah, HF is pretty much a fun game. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting. It's very interesting because I feel like HF had its stint. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, there was CE before, but HF was there, and I want to say it was popular for a while until, like, okay, New Challengers came out, but New Challengers kind of flopped, and I feel like everybody sort of went back to HF in a way until Super Turbo came out. But tell me, you two, besides HF, were there other games that during the 90s you guys were playing at the time besides HF?
Oh, I was playing all types of fighting game. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, the first fighting game was definitely Street Fighter 2: The World Warrior, right? Just like everybody else, that was sort of like the gateway drug, right? That got you into it, and then you got introduced to Championship Edition, Hyper Edition. But during the mid 90s, I'm not gonna lie, I got into like King of Fighters, Samurai Showdown 2, Mortal Kombat 1, 2, 3. So I was kind of like all over the place, you know? I know some of the cats out there, they just focus on primarily just Street Fighter and nothing else, right? But I play like all type of fighting game. I'm talking about, I'm gonna throw out some random fighting game out there like Primal Rage, right? I'm sure you know what that is, right? You got the dinosaur, like, fighting each other. So anything that was like fighting, like Time Killer, whatever, I put some quarters in just to kind of see what was that about. So I was like all over the place. That's just my experience.
I mean, going back there, trying to recall the games that I played, Killer Instinct was one of them. Clay Fighter, I definitely tried a lot, but I couldn't really get into that, But I think in my heart, something about HF really stuck with me. It was just the sounds, the animations, especially Sagat with his style. To me, it's very beautiful. The way they actually moved, the techniques they actually did were actually correct. The kicks, the movements, everything. So that's the only game that I ever stuck with. Mortal Kombat I tried, but nothing really stuck with me, unlike Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighter.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay, I see. All right, so tell me, let me ask this question, right? Pretty much, let's say we're still in the beginning phases, right?
Yep.
I know you two met, right? Now, take me. Besides meeting, were there, like, did you come across any communities that were playing HF during the time being?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the challenge growing up in '90s is that time AOL was sort of started to kind of introduce the whole online thing, right? So I didn't really get connected to a lot of community. And as a young cat growing up in New York, I had to be home before the sundown, So the community that I was familiar with was just down the block, the pizza shop, the bodega, wherever they have Street Fighter, couple kids crowd around that arcade machine. That was the community that I knew and grew up in. And obviously, Nigga, yourself growing up in Brooklyn, you've experienced some of those times where win or lose sometimes, you gotta leave that arcade before the sundown, or if you do a little bit tick through, you might get in trouble with some of the Billy Badass kid out in the street, you know.
Oh,
So
man.
that's the community I was familiar with. Not like where the community today, where like through the Discord channel, through the Facebook and everything. But it was strictly, online wasn't available that time.
Right. I got you. I mean, you're absolutely right, because the funny thing is, when playing against grown-ass men during that time, they would tick throw me anyway, and there wasn't a thing you could do about it. The funny thing was, when I remember doing it once, and I got punched in the arm so hard, it was like my right arm went numb for like 2 minutes. And obviously, I kind of cried a little bit, but I was a kid during that time. But you're absolutely right, though, because during the early 90s, it was that tick throw thing was very banned. It was like one of those things like, oh, you're cheap? All right, so we're gonna have to beat you up because of that. And why is that? Well, because they said, oh, that's like breaking the game. They rather for you to just play footsies or spam fireballs, but you can't tick throw them because you're not supposed to. It's like one of those street urban laws that's there. So had to grow up with it, but like fast forwarded, now that it's accepted because obviously it's a legitimate strat, but it's one of those things that, oh well, not only they feel that it's not a strat, but they feel like, well, they can't you can't throw me because I'm gonna throw you, kind of things like that. But you're absolutely right about that. You're absolutely right.
It's funny because the comments about tick throws are still talked about today, especially on the one-up community, like, oh, this guy tick throws a lot, but it's part of the game. It's part of the strategy. Rock, paper, scissors. Sometimes you don't know if they're gonna throw you or they're gonna do a combo on you, so it's part of the game. But I think back then, especially with guys playing, it's a pride thing. Especially if someone throws you twice and you're about to lose, you feel like someone insulted you.
Yeah.
But it's part of the game. But it's weird. But going back, funny thing is, I never really played in the arcade. Only system I ever played on was a Super Nintendo, so that's how I actually learned the moves and everything. And there was no communities at that time. Like Jeff was saying, there was no AOL, there's no social, not AOL, no social media, no way to connect with other people. It was just whoever you saw or whoever you played with the Super Nintendo. So people have it spoiled nowadays. There's so many ways to play. Cross continents, cross countries, everything.
It's free.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It is free. It totally is free. So, shout outs to Fightcade. Obviously, shout outs to, the one-up community also, because you get to play with people, online through a cab, which is pretty awesome. So, but it's pretty much free, and folks, it's free to try. I mean, there's communities, of course, and it will be in the description also. All right, so let's go to the next section, right? Let's talk about tournaments, right?
Yeah.
Now, tell me, what was you guys' before we go into like the later tournaments? What were you guys' first tournaments?
For me, personally, like I've never really, played any tournaments like in the 90s or anything like that. Like I said, I was a young kid. I didn't have a lot of money to travel or anything. I didn't know there was a tournament going on, I could sign up. I think until I got into the one-up scene like 2.5 years ago, they started throwing tournaments and everything. And in the beginning, I was definitely a little intimidated by the word tournament, right? Because I never considered myself, in that caliber or that skill level, right? But I said, hey, what the hell? I'm just gonna, try to participate. Yeah, but the first tournament I entered it's funny that my wife actually signed me up. It was at Arcade 82, and that was the first time I was entered in the tournament, and I never played on one-up or any like Street Fighter machine for the past like 26 years or so.
Wow.
So yeah, if you can imagine the results, it didn't go my way.
You should tell them who you played. Was that where you played?
Oh yeah.
OD?
So They entered me in a tournament, right? So I didn't even have my name Knocktsukow yet, right? I was just like, didn't know what to call myself. I was like Jeff TBE, right? Took that Mayweather the best ever with a clown, you know? So the first person I meet in the tournament was a guy named Ken Ching, aka OG Ken, right?
Wow.
Maybe y'all familiar with OG King, who's a top dog, king of LA, right? Skillful, Shoto and Gao player. So I had no idea. And the minute I was matched up with him first to 3, right about second round, I kind of let go my controller because I knew that deep down in my heart there was no way I could match up with him. Like, there's a saying of like, sometimes you gotta try, you got nothing to lose. But at that very moment, I knew I was like way out of the league. You know, I shouldn't even been here. And my wife signed me up. Yeah, it was an embarrassment. After that, I just walked out arcade with my head down. And some guy came and tapped me on my shoulder and said, "Hey, buddy, don't feel bad, man. That guy, he goes by the name OG Ken. He was the one that beat Mike Watson, and he's definitely like the king of LA." I was like, "Oh, really?" So I went home, I Googled him, looked up his video, and I was like, "Damn, he's that nasty, huh?" Yeah, so that was kind of my first experience into the Street Fighter tournament.
Impressive. Wow.
I mean, for me, I've never really had any tournaments. Going back, I was involved in one that was in Flushing, Queens for Street Fighter Alpha 1 on the PlayStation. I actually won that one, unknowingly. I thought I was going to do horrible, but somehow I actually won it. I remember that feeling looking back at it, the first tournament in front of tons of people, maybe 20, 30 people. Legs were shaking, hands were cramping, but I never had that feeling.
Right.
So just looking back at that, I'm like, that was a cool thing to win, even though it was a small group. Mm-hmm. And after that, there was no really other tournaments that I was part of. I was part of a one-up one a year ago, but me not knowing, you have to allocate 3 to 4 hours for one. If you make it through the brackets, I had to drop out after about an hour and a half, because I had other duties. But it was fun, to be involved in something, with the brackets and everything, and to be nervous before a match, But knowing now 3 to 4 hours, someone has to allocate that time just to be ready for that,
Right. Yeah, it is, because tournaments tend to run like, man, I would say like it really depends on how much entrance they are. So if you got, so I get a good example. If you got like, let's say a 30-man tournament, you're running 2 out of 3s, 3 out of 5 grand finals. Your best bet, that tournament is gonna last you like 2.5 hours, 3 hours right off the rip.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but if you're like doing like 60 plus or so, then yeah, that's like 4 hours right off the rip, because there's a lot of factors that goes into finding these people. Well, one of it is you have to find them, make sure they're still in the venue. That's one thing. And then the other thing is the amount of setups you have. That always plays another role into it. And then the third thing is like, oh, well, some people tend to forget the rules a lot. And tend to like to ask the TOs and everything like that, talk about, oh, well, what's the rules again? Well, my guy, when you signed up, you should have read the rules upon what it was, or the TO said it before. So I can understand in terms of, you definitely do have to allocate your time for, tournaments that is going to be long lasting. That's for sure. And It's funny that you talk about OG Ken. I remember meeting him in 2019, actually, when he visited Texas for Spring Series. And
oh wow, okay.
Him and I had this long set. There's actually a video out there, but we had this long set in one of the offline cabs that was recorded, right? And I remember after we were done, I was going up to him, and I was saying good games, and he was saying good games also. And I was like, oh man, I didn't get your name. He's like, OG Ken. I'm like, really? I'm like, huh. I'm like, I know. I thought I heard that name from somewhere. He's like, they're from Watson? I'm like, well, the last time I haven't spoke to Watson was like, before that was like 2017, where we was in Canada Cup. But I was like, man, I heard this name before. And I'm like, I'm really like trying to put 2 and 2 together. Yeah. And then if OG Ken hears this, I'm sorry. Like, it took me a year to kind of figure out who he really was. And then I'm like, oh, so this the dude that, just like you said, was the king of LA. And I'm like, oh man. I'm like, well, that's kind of sick then. I'm like, okay, so I unknowingly was playing a famous dude, and I was just casually playing him. But the more you know. That's
hey man, nigga, you're a legend yourself, right? I mean, your name is all over the internet and everything. You're an amazing player. So that match must have been fire. I'd love to see that clip if you have it. You know?
I gotta look for it. Yeah, I definitely gotta look for it. But I appreciate the compliment, man. I mean, I would say to me, I'm no legend, but I would say like, yeah, the name is out there because obviously. So for me, I'm like the type of guy, right, that if I like the game, I'll try to go out of my way to make the game visible. Like if I make ST visible, or sometimes I make HF visible. I mean, usually between playing Justin Wong on HF and Alex Valle on HF as well, and I'm like, yeah, you know, these guys, you know, absolute legends of the FGC. And the fact is, it's like, people should understand that, okay, if they're playing your game and you're getting like 300K just because this person is playing him, right? Just for the entertainment factor. Yeah. The important thing is, it's like you capitalize on that factor. You tell people, hey, yeah, play HF. It's a great game, which is very true. Like Justin Wong would say, yeah, I love HF. Then next thing you know, you got people be like, oh man, how did they play HF? And then now which is very ironic, right? When I first met you guys, right, with the Big Blue community, with the One Up community, it's for once, and this is me, the shock factor. I didn't know that there was a way that you could play online through a cab. I thought that was kind of unheard of, to be honest with you. I thought you guys were just literally, okay, I thought you guys were literally like those, like, you know, some mad scientists that you guys have cabs, but you guys put like your own custom monitor, a little PC inside there, and play HF on MAME or some other platform that you can do that. But I legitimately didn't know that there was actually a PCB for the One-Up. So that's pretty interesting. I mean, so you know what? Now that we're talking about it, since this is like within the tournament question, right? So tell me, what is the One-Up community like? Describe it towards me, like what it's all about. I mean, I know there's HF, but I know there's other games as well. But what stands out in that community than most other retro communities?
Yeah, I can go first. Or you want to go here?
No, go.
Yeah. All right. So I think you know, about 2.5 years ago, one of the coolest thing about the One-Up community is it's initially for the people that are not tech savvy, who doesn't know Fightcade or know how to set up and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So a company One-Up bought the Street Fighter rights and build that cab and allows you to, you know, connect with other folks online across the states and play each other. So one cool thing about the community is I think it's more than Street Fighter, right? It brings people together with similar age, interests, and just background and everything like that, right? Because it allows you to not just play Street Fighter, enjoy it for free and test your skill, but over the years, I've met almost like 80% of people in person, whether it's in-person tournaments or just meeting them and traveling in different states and everything like that. So I've met a lot of cool cats, know what they do for a living, everything, and we just jive together. You know, I think like the Street Fighter community is awesome that we all just come together like one big family. Obviously, you know, there's some strong personalities, some differences, but overall, it's just like everybody just enjoying that retro time, the 90s that have maybe passed us, and now we get to enjoy like time stood still kind of deal. That's how I look at it.
Very good. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah, I mean, going off of what Jeff said, he actually is the one that talked me into getting a cab, because I was like, I don't know, man. I mean, it's hard for me, you know, with kids to actually spend time playing with the cab. But now I'm in the cab 1 hour every day, live streaming, you know. And I think the community is something that's, you know, how do you say this? is very different. All different personalities. All support each other. Like someone just posted they just got gold rank on the 1UP page on Discord, and we congratulated them. We saw them struggle through all this time to actually get there, and we're actually happy. Like, well, you made it there. It's even though it's just the color, but the struggle just to get there is a big deal if you're a serious player. So we all acknowledge that. And I've met quite a few people. I never met them in person. But I talk to them online, or we have good sets. We talk to each other about it. What can we do? What can we improve on? Especially I learned tips from you, Megaman. On how you play, because I use Geef as my main now, and it's cool. It's very different. Everyone, like Jeff said, everyone has different personalities. But we all get along. That's the best thing.
That is the best thing, and you guys are pretty. You're pretty cool, man. Like, I mean, I won't lie. At first, when I kind of met the 1UP community, I'm like, I'm like, this is kind of interesting. I'm like, at first, I was like, I did not know there was such thing. Like I said. And then the other thing was, I was like, oh, you guys are like very heavily into it. And I'm like, oh. Then I remember I was talking, shout outs to Ultratron, right? I was watching Ultratron stream, and he was like putting together the cab itself. And I remember one of the biggest things you guys were saying, right, in regards about the cab, right, was you guys kind of made some modifications so it could a little run better, change the buttons out, which I know by far, I remember when I first saw the 1UP arcade at Walmart, and I kind of felt it, and I'm like, these buttons are kind of shit. So therefore, it was like, it was kind of terrible. But yeah, I mean, you guys are like, you guys are really cool, man. Like, very, like, I would say, like, you guys got the, really good personality in terms of like running some stuff, especially like Thirsty Thursdays, which is, very interesting that you guys not only make the match, you kind of sort of recruit some folks to kind of do the matchups and everything. And then at the same time, shout out to DJILK. He streams it, and, there's like hundreds of people just like watching you guys just go at it, which is pretty awesome, to say the least. So that's pretty dope. That's pretty dope. So alongside with with that, I guess Thirsty Thursday, are there any other tournaments like HF tournaments that usually goes on pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, it's we get like pretty random tournaments thrown out from the 1UP community, especially from Steps Gaming to Fighter Evolution, which is hosted by a gentleman named Blast, super cool guy. And believe me or not, they throw out some pretty lucrative, sort of prizes out there, right? Mm-hmm. For example, I'll give you an example. I played this one dude. He goes by the name Juice Monkey. It was just first to 10. The winner of that match gets a brand new Xbox 360 Mega. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I was a mid-level player. I ended up winning it, and sponsored by To Die For Gaming. He gave me a brand new Xbox, took pictures, so I won an Xbox. There was another tournament hosted by 1UP where the winner gets a brand new Street Fighter 2 arcade machine. Unfortunately, I got to the final, and my final matchup was DJILK. I don't have to speak about the result, but DJ walked away with a brand new machine that's worth like $600, So there were a lot of prizes given out. That's why in the beginning I was trying to get a lot of Fight Cake, top players to kind of play on it, because I was like, it's easy money. Because all these tournaments, DJ had capitalized on every one of these, because none of us could really beat them, to be honest, So yeah, they do throw out these random tournaments here and there with lucrative prices.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It is pretty random, but like Jeff said, the prizes are something that's pretty unique. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, it's usually the same winners if they enter. It's usually DJ or Mao that actually win those tournaments due to the skill level difference. The what was that? The Fighters Evolution, Steps Gaming. Is there another one that throws it? I think, Jeff, is there another one? That's the only two, right, that we know of. The main ones for on one up.
Laundromat War or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's few of them.
And One Up had an official one about 6 months ago, also.
Correct. So they'll give out like a couple $100 here and there, and it's easy money for the guys that can really play, to be honest.
Oh, okay. That's cool. So, those tournament, I'm pretty sure those tournaments kind of get announced, and folks just kind of like, be ready at this certain time. So, yeah, and it's announced. I would say, like, I know it's been announced through Discord and the page, right? The Facebook page as well.
Yeah, we have a Street Fighter 2 page on Facebook. That's called Street Fighter 2 live streams, Arcade 1-Up and Fightcade. That has about 200 members, and we announce a lot of information there. We have live streams from people playing a 1-Up. I stream on the platform. Anyone that wins tournaments is announced. We announced John Choi recently, who won his tournaments at Evo with ST recently, and all the information is posted there and on Discord, so everyone's aware of all the information. Because I think getting the information out there is critical for people that are just into the game, but they're not really good at it. But they're interested in the people that are good at it and how they win.
Absolutely. I think that's the big.
And I want to add one thing to it, if it's okay. So I think when we throw out the word tournament, people get a little scared or intimidated, thinking like, "Hey, I don't think I'm good enough" or whatever, right? I think these tournaments are pretty like friendly tournaments. Barriers of entry is very easy. So again, the whole point is to try to get people come together, play, have fun, compete. Win or lose, nobody ever gets shamed, clowned, or anything like that, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the whole point, and that's what these tournaments are, right? As long as they're having fun, and they love it because they're getting live streamed. Who wouldn't like to see their fight name on YouTube live or playing with some of the top players out there, right? And that's what we try to bring to the community, because at the end of the day, it's all about unity. It's not like who's better than him or her, whatever the case. Because the reality is definitely, Fightcade players are much better, more prolific, skillful players. But again, it's two community that we're trying to unite into one, and so far I think we're making great progress behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty great progress. The fact that not only you guys have tournaments for there, but you have some for here on Fightcade as well. And you kind of definitely touched something very important in terms of like having folks join regardless of skill level, and you are absolutely right. I mean, the word tournament, it has like, I would say, like, as a new person, it would have like really different meanings towards it. You kind of have this like, oh, well, you hear a tournament, okay, you know what the tournament means in the dictionary, but when it comes to what you feel, it's like, okay, two things happen. As a new person, you'd be like, oh man, I'm joining this tournament, this thing, my first one ever, and this is pretty exciting. But then at the same time, you got the imposter syndrome pretty much, and basically you feel like, oh Absolutely. Man, I don't feel like I'm gonna do any good or anything like that. I would say, like, for those who are like first timers, right? Even though you're joining it, don't even think about the word tournament. The idea is you join. I mean, there's no assholes within the community, and basically these guys are very open in terms of teaching. And then that's the biggest grab right there, because if you really like this game, and you'd be like, okay, sure, I lost, but man, it was exhilarating. It was great. It was a thrill, and you want to really learn. The fact is, you gain a new member because he wants to learn, and then pretty much all you have to do is be like, oh yeah, well, if you want to learn this character, you can watch some videos, watch some videos, play some games, give him tips. That's normally how it goes for every community, because that's literally how you gain a new person. And then next thing you know, that new person could be, okay, after the lessons you gave them, and he really sits down and learns, that boy can be the next John Choi out of nowhere. So
exactly,
that's very important that you just said that right there, Knock, in terms of like, you know, having all like levels join, and then it's just a matter of having fun. And if you're interested in learn, you have a community to join in terms of learning. So that's very important.
Absolutely. And from my experience, you know, when I first joined the tournament, I used to think like the top players would just be extremely cocky or a little overconfident because they're so good at how they play and everything, you know. But what I learned is all the top players, the killers, even like yourself with the killers and the top players are actually super nice, super cool, super humble, right? Like, I want to throw out some names out there, right? Not to powder their nuts or anything like that. Like Choi Boy, Eggs and Bacon, even DJILK, right? They're super skillful at what they do, but they're also super humble, you know? Like, it's funny, I always joke that, you know, DJ, he plays like an asshole, but he's actually a really nice guy in person, you know? So that definitely wanted to kind of shed some light to other folks who are intimidated in joining the community. It's all about having fun, learning from each other, and trying to take your game to the next level.
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
What I'm seeing too is that when I live stream, people are asking me questions. Like, you know, I just learned negative edge 6 months ago. I had no idea what that was. I didn't even know that, you know, pressing a button, letting it go actually counts as an input when you let go. So someone's asking me, what do you do? How do you get that wake up SPD? You know, like, so I show them and I tell them, and they're actually trying it. So I'm like, oh, this is cool. People are decent at the game, but now they want to learn these new techniques that I just learned recently from someone else. So you're spreading this information out to the community, you know, which is great, you know.
Absolutely. That is true. Okay, so let's move on, right? Let's talk about like the community of itself, right? Now, not sure if you guys kind of pay attention to like today's community in terms of what's going on or so. So I want to know you guys' thoughts on like, do you guys like kind of look into what's going on in the FGC of today?
You mean in general, just the whole community, or just within Street Fighter 2, let's say?
I would say the whole community in general.
I personally don't. I just follow maybe Justin Wong, or you know, see some of your videos, you know, but pertaining to, you know, just certain games like Street Fighter 6. But generally, I don't. I don't know if Knock does. Do you follow anything else, Knock?
Yeah, that's a great question, Megan. I'm glad you brought that up. So to me personally, I think the FGC community, it's pretty broad, right? It's pretty wide open. It's all about what you're into, what you grew up with, and what you're passionate about, you know. I'm more of like a retro, vintage kind of fighting game type of guy, you know. So I pretty much follow like the whole like Street Fighter CE, Hype Edition, Super Turbo. But that's pretty much where my bucks kind of stop. You know, I mean, I watch a little bit of like, you know, Street Fighter 5 and Mortal Kombat, you know, 10, 11, whatever case, but I just can't really get into it. So I mostly stay within like the retro scene, because those are where all my friends and people are like familiar, comfortable with, and kind of jive around that level, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. And it's funny because it's definitely broad. It's a lot going on. I would say like in terms of modern, I mean, obviously you have like Street Fighter 6 and right now I would say the modern FGC, it's heading in the direction of esports at this point. So it's like now, instead of like, okay, well, there's the grassroots is there, but you know, now they're just saying, okay, now they're trying to get all these sponsorships, these orgs and everything like that, try to get involved in the fighting game community at this point, and just pumping money into just like getting the prize pool and all. So it's like now it's becoming to a point that, okay, being in the fighting game community, the modern fighting game community with the modern games, it's like being, you know, you're just having a job at this point. So it's like, you got like these modern games, and it's like, oh, well, what's your profession? Well, I'm a Street Fighter player, so I play this game for work, but it's also fun as well. But I would say, like, in terms of the modern FGC, in terms of the retro scene, right, which is where we pay attention to, to just give you guys some insight. I mean, you guys probably know as well in terms of like, well, I would say it's ever changing, because now, you know, we're not, in terms of playing the games that we love, we're not regulated to playing on cabs only. So we play on other sort of platforms as well, like Super Guns, Misters, or playing on a cab that has a USB input. And
right,
a lot of like nowadays, it's like, okay, you guys, I mean, you guys can give your opinion on this, right? So I would say like one of the biggest talks is the same thing with the cab with the USB inputs, right? Now, I'm pretty sure you guys went to like Don's Arcade, and you went to like you, just like you said, Knock, you went to 82 as well, right?
Right. Yeah.
I want you to tell me, do you feel like having USB inputs in cabs is very important? Like, do you feel like it kind of makes or breaks when you kind of get people? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, from my experience, and I apologize, I'm not that technical with the whole modding and all that stuff like that, but just from a surface level, I can tell that, you know, when I played on the real hardware, because I was, you know, Arcade 82, as well as the Riverside Tournament, Reloaded 37, the main Big Blue or the cab in person definitely plays a lot like more smoother, reactive, minus all the input lag and everything like that. You will definitely notice the difference, you know? Now, not to take away from online gaming, whether playing off the 5K platform or the 1Up platform, obviously it's not going to have that crisp experience as playing in person, but the value of that side is you get to compete with all different folks across the states, even like international and everything. So that opens up like different skill level, different challengers and things like that. So there's really no right to wrong answer, I feel. I mean, there's pros and cons between both platforms, so I'm grateful to have the opportunity to play on both of them. Yeah, that's just my philosophy.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, that question is debated amongst a lot of people. You know, like what's the best platform to play on, and you know, obviously offline should be the standard. People want to compare that to everything to offline. It should be, footsies are important, reactions are important. But unfortunately, not everyone has the opportunity to actually play like that, to play on offline on a cabinet. And it seems like the USB plugins, even though I never tried one on an arcade, are the closest to that you can have, and while having the comfort of your own joystick. I think the speed of the reaction time of an actual arcade is very different from playing online, obviously. And that's one of the benefits of people that actually go to the arcade to play, because their reactions are tested when they're actually playing offline.
Right. So, you guys hit the nail on the head in terms of playing on different platforms from online to offline. So it's just, I feel like and you're right, it is talked about a lot. I feel like a lot of people would like to play where they're most comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
And I feel, as a person that's seen it, right? As a person that's seen it and tried it, and this is my personal opinion, I feel like I don't really like. I am a firm believer in folks to play on what they like, because if it's more comfortable for you to bring your own stick to put it in a cab, which, by the way, I feel, regardless of that, that's still pretty amazing to do. I feel like that's just pretty. I think, hey, if you want to do that, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, you bring your A game because you brought your own stick. I just feel like the old school part of me is that if I'm playing on a cab, it feels naturally right to play it on a cab. Like, it feels, there's no different feeling than just playing on a cab and just going there. I feel like if I sit on a cab with my own stick there, sometimes I kind of look like a doofus. I'm not gonna lie to you because it just feels like I'm like, oh, well, there's 2 sticks in front of me, my own and the Cavs right there. But then I'm like, weird. That's kind of weird, but not taken away from like the idea of doing it. It just feels like, you know, especially like, you know, with HF, right? Because I mean, I'm pretty sure there was a situation that happened at said tournament in regards about that, and I feel like the idea with that has to be said in terms of that, because I feel like, okay, it is exceptional, and this is how I feel. It is preferable to play on what you like, because okay, do you trust the hardware that is on that cab, right? Kind of a toss-up. Yeah. Some of the cabs you go to, when you kind of wiggle the stick and you play on it, it's either 3 things you feel. It feels rough, it feels smooth, it feels loose. One of those 3 things that always happens. So that's why I kind of posed a question to you guys in regards about, do you feel like if it's like, okay, do you feel like you agree with play on the platform, not the platform, bring your own controller to play to feel more comfortable, or you just tell them, well, hey, usually cab is just standard. But I feel like people are more open-minded, and you know, they just able to do it. But I feel like at the same time, it's up to the TO's discretion, because not all TOs can just say, hey, they can logistically get like 10 cabs that has USB decoders in them. That's kind of impossible at times.
Yeah, exactly. You bring up a great point right there, right? It's all about the TO setting the right expectation and the rules and regulations, right? If the TO sets it where you have to play, on the main cab, the machine itself, then that's going to be the rule, because 2 individuals is playing on the same platform, same speed, same emulator, whatever you want to call it, right?
Right.
But if the TO gives you the liberty of bringing your own joystick and playing your own joystick, obviously there's an advantage, because you're going to always feel comfortable with your own stick if that's what you play every day, right? It's kind of like a pay-per-view boxing match between Floyd Money Mayweather and like Manny Pacquiao, right? They both got to bring their own gloves that they're comfortable fitting in, because that's kind of like they got to be at their 110% to be able to compete, you know. So I think the TO, whatever the rules are set, that's what you got to go by.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely think if you're going to be at your A game for anything, you have to use the preference of play that you're used to. If you go to a cab and the buttons are off, or the joystick is off, your whole game is off. It's not just that, because it'll be it's gonna stick in your head. Something is off here. I can't block right, or I can't jump right, and that's it. That's your whole mindset. Your whole drive to actually do 100% is going to be screwed up from that. So I think bring your own stick on the same emulator, same platform, and you both play on the same platform, but your own stick is probably the best way.
Absolutely. Okay, so all right, so let's so before I go to the last part, right? I want you to tell me one last thing about the 1UP community, right? So I'm pretty sure, right? Aside from all the tournaments that you guys host and everything like that, do you guys have any upcoming? I mean, I know I'm asking this kind of early, but in terms of the community-wise, right? Do you guys have any upcoming projects that you kind of have in the works for the 1UP community or the 5K community?
Do we have anything, Chef?
Not an official project, but I think what we're trying to do more with the Street Fighter Facebook page is do more live stream matches, anywhere from high level to mid level, just so folks can tune in, can participate in the conversation, hit the like button. Most importantly, just get a little bit more involved, because I think video is a huge key to getting people to tune in, right? As you've seen it with DJILK streaming recently, he's getting like 3,000-4,000 views or something like that, like 400 live views and things like that, and it's all out of a video, So we try to do more live video streaming and Ganassi does a great job as far as streaming his fights. Shaft the Pleasure do a lot of streaming as well. So that's kind of like what we're doing, but nothing like official and set in stone because obviously, you know, we all have jobs, we all have families, so we gotta kind of juggle all the priorities as well as playing Street Fighter. That's a little bit of a hurdle right there, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, just to give a little history on that, like going back to Thirsty Thursday, that idea originally came from Knock and DJ to actually host matches. You know, at that time, because even though people were playing within the One-Up community, we didn't have anything that people had to look forward to. To have a weekly event and people said, "Hey, we got a match coming up next week. This is who's gonna play and everything." It actually gave people something to look forward to. You know, which is what people do now when they get live streams. You know, hey, I want to see someone play live. Oh, they're pretty good. I want to see them play. I want to learn. Oh, they're beating someone that's really good. So you know, it's exciting. You know, so going back to Thirsty Thursday, when we started that, it was a small thing, but little by little, it grew more and more. And one thing that we wanted to do was, hey, what else can we provide to it so people get value out of that? Hey, you know, what can we show? So we came up with the idea of Tail of Tape. What do we do with that? Hey, people want to know who's playing. What can we provide? So I started off with their accolades. You know, they won a tournament. They were number 1 on Nintendo Switch or whatever it was. And I'm a fan of combat sports. You know, and so I'm used to people coming into the match. You know their background and everything. So I added in, hey, what do you play from? Hey, how many awards have you won? What stick do you play on? People are wondering, do you use 6 pound spring, 4 pounds and such? What do you do outside of Street Fighter? So people have a background on you. You know, so going back to that, it actually built into something that's actually pretty big now. But looking back at that, was a big thing for us as a small community to actually grow it into what it is now.
That's pretty awesome. And I remember participating in one of the Thirsty Thursdays, which was a pretty fun match. Like I said, this was during when I first met you guys within that community, and I felt like I really liked, on paper, I really liked the idea. And I remember before you guys were talking about, besides having high level play, you guys also do like concept matches between the matchups as well, in terms of, like Sagat Geef or Blanca Ryu or Ken Balrog or anything like that. So it's like, it's very interesting that, you know, you guys kind of sort of you guys do that for HF, and you guys get a lot of views for that, which, you know, I am ecstatically happy for you guys in terms of that, because there is not a lot of, I mean, there are concept matches out there, right? But you guys kind of bring in the whole, you guys, just like you said, Gnostic, in terms of you're a fan of combat sports, and Knock, you know, people call him the Don King of HF. So it's like, you guys bring in that kind of, I would say you guys bring in that kind of energy in terms of like saying, okay, these are the players you have here. You have the hype man right there just hyping it up as well.
Yep, you gotta sell those fights, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which is pretty freaking awesome. So that's pretty much what's needed. And you know, like I said, there's not a lot of that out there. So I am happy that you guys are doing it. I'm glad you guys are continuing to keep doing it. So it's like, it's very important, because for the community you guys are in. I feel like you two are like, I want to say like, I call you guys more of the spokespersons, because it's like, a lot of times you guys are the one not only organizing stuff, but it kind of like the information gets funneled through you guys, and you kind of just like transmit it to like a wider audience, even though, yeah, sure, it's through DJ or anything like that, but you guys, I would say, and it's pretty awesome. Like, you guys are literally like the mouthpiece of HF, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the reality is, you know, we strictly do it for the love of the game, the passion of the game, right? Mm-hmm. We're not trying to get views, or we don't get sponsored, we don't get paid for it. I mean, we have like working jobs and stuff, but on our side time, we're just trying to get the community more involved, whether in person or playing online. and that's the beauty of it, you know. And I think the key word is consistency, right? There's a lot of folks out there that puts out these great matches. Don't get me wrong, kudos to them. But how do you keep that consistent going, right? I think Thirsty Thursday is up to like 45. Yeah, there's some our consistency kind of fell off a little bit, but I think we're still pretty consistent in keeping things going. And that way people can tune in, they know what time it starts, what to expect, and the enjoyment they're going to get out of it.
Right. I feel like that's very important. And consistency is right, because, I mean, during the time, I mean, it was like, I would say like you guys sort of you started during the tail end of COVID. So I know for a fact it was like pretty rough in terms of how that went. But I'm very happy for you guys that you guys are really pushing that agenda and continuing to do so. So that's pretty awesome. So, okay, so now it brings us to the end. So I already kind of asked this question anyway, so I already asked the question. So tell me, do you guys like, you know, I want to say, do you guys like have any shout outs that you want to say, that you want to shout out?
No, go ahead.
Oh man,
There's a lot.
There's a lot of people, man. I feel like I'm, you know, winning the Grammy Award, and I'm like blanking out right here. No. Yeah, I definitely want to shout out to all the Street Fighter community, all the family out there, whether you're from 1UP, Fightcade, or playing over the seas, right? Because I think this is the best fighting game that was ever designed or created, personally speaking. And I love the fact that 30 years later, they're still playing, they're still so passionate about. And I got the opportunity to meet some of the coolest cats out there, and just continue to grow this family. So yeah, shout outs to all the community out there, but most importantly, some of the top players that I've learned a lot from playing this game. Some of the names are like, you know, John Choi, Choi Boy, Eggs and Bacon, DJILK, yourself, Megaman. I just continue to learn from some of the pioneers and continue to evolve my game as I, you know, get better each day. And most importantly, Panda Express, who inspired me to play Blanco.
Sick.
Yeah, shout out to Knock for actually advising me to get a cab. To actually be here for that. shout out to you, Megaman, because I learned a lot from me, and Shaft learned a lot from you for using GIF. There's a lot of little tricks that that we learned from you, especially.
You learn not to get greedy when fighting Gat. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I hate that matchup. Seriously. I even though when I'm streaming I lose, 10-0, 0-10, whatever it is. I still stream it. People want to, people should see even when I lose, why, or how I lose, because it's important. I don't want to just show the good matches. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Oh, of course.
Shout out to the Facebook page members. Thanks for always tuning in. Especially shout to Pleasure and Rochan for helping us moderate the page. The Discord community for being involved with everything that we do. A lot of people. This is an old game. We have a lot of nostalgia for it. I love the game. The animations are beautiful. It's my favorite game of all time, besides StarCraft. So that's pretty much it.
Sick.
And I want to say one thing. Sorry.
No,
so the funny thing is, and I'm sure you can relate, Mega. Every new cat that gets introduced to the game of Street Fighter always think they are the real top dogs. They are the local killers, the Billy Badass, right? And when they get online, they all eat that humble pie in the beginning,
But, oh my God.
I get such a kick out of that, because when I was first trying to, get Gnostic into playing this Street Fighter game, and he was asking me, he's like, yo, are people good, yo? Can they really play, yo? Because, a lot of times we play like local cats around our neighborhood. They say they can play. We hook up the Super Nintendo after 2 rounds. You're like, yo, you just wasted my time,
Yeah.
But I say, nah, they can really play. So for the folks out there that think like there's not a lot of good Street Fighter players out there, or they're just like kind of grown old, they're of their father time, man, get on Fightcade, get on 1UP, and you be in for a good surprise and a fun surprise. That's all I can say.
Oh man, I think what what kills me with that one is there's a lot. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of them out there. I think my favorite line that I see from that is, yo, I used to play this game back in '93, and I used to be dominant. I used to be dominant in these people in the store and everything like that. Yeah, and the best part about that is, I feel like anytime you see that line, you know they lying their ass off so much, and then it's like, and then when they come on, they'll be, and then they come on, they'll be like, oh man, well shit, I just got my ass whooped. Like that's kind of crazy. I got my ass whooped, but but the funny thing is, there is good that comes from it. So the good that's taken away from that is, oh, well, okay, this guy, okay, well, Mr. 1993, who was badass, who just ate some humble pie playing some new guys, he'll be like, man, well, you guys doing a bunch of stuff that I didn't see before and anything like that. And you guys can agree, right? The meta of the game has evolved so much over the years, and we have gotten to the point that even though, and I feel like there's still a lot of tech out there in HF, but it's like it's up to us to kind of discover that. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I feel like I said, the meta has changed so much over the years. Like, I would humbly think, oh yeah, well, we are way better than those who were playing it at the early 90s. Because now there's a lot of tech that goes on. In terms of not a lot of tech, they have a lot of VODs that's out there because the information is all out there at this point. Because during the time, sure, there was no videos or anything like that, and you can't really kind of learn from anybody before, but now you can just learn from people, especially like, okay, you meet these people and then they have videos on there and anything like that. So it's like, I can understand that for sure. So, but I would say, like, yeah, man, those guys that's who are 1993, 1994, 1995 killers, and if you are listening to this, right? And if you are listening to this and you feel badass, just hop on in, man. It's an open community. Not saying it's open season, but it's open community. It's an open community, and we don't, these two don't talk shit. They just let the gameplay talk for themselves. So that's basically how it goes. So it's pretty awesome. It is pretty awesome. So that's how it is.
I want to tell a funny story. Knock's gonna remember. Irrelevant. Knock. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
So we all thought we were pretty good. DJ was number 1 on 1UP. We all thought we were pretty good. And this guy with the name Irrelevant comes on, beating all of our asses, using footsies. I didn't even know what was going on. I was stuck in the corner. He's footseeing me to death. I'm like, how's this guy reacting like that? And come to know, on Discord, Knock found out who it was, and he got trolled. But Knock, you continue with the story.
Let me kind of fill in the middle part is where it gets juicy, right? Mm-hmm. So this guy Irrelevant I'm talking about, he's beating like Oblivion, Mao, even DJ. So he's just whooping everybody. And I'm on the Discord chat, and I'm talking to OG Ken that time, and I was telling him, like, this cat is really nasty. He's like, you want to pay me to beat him? I was like, yeah, can you beat him? Right? So OG's like asking me, who's this guy? Why is he so good and everything like that? So after 25 minutes of the conversation, he sends me a screenshot. Guess what? That Irrelevant guy is OG Ken himself, trolling us with a hidden screen name. So he was introduced to 1UP, but he never told us he played as a hidden character. So I thought that was like hilarious. But so he was playing with us, and he's definitely one of the top players out there.
I ain't gonna lie, I just learned something. Irrelevant. I've seen that name before on Xbox Live, and I was like, I remember on 25th anniversary collection, right?
Yeah.
I played against him, and this dude would whip my ass. And I was like, man, who the hell is this guy? He was playing Blanca. That's what the funny thing was. And I was like, who is this dude is? Now, folks, I've learned something. It's OG Ken. That is hilarious. That's crazy.
He called himself irrelevant, but he was the most relevant, ass whooping he was giving all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that was a fun thing. You just never know who's gonna show up. I'm glad he didn't use his name. He used a fake name, but that's what made it more exciting. He got the whole community involved, got them talking. Like he was a sheriff of the town. The new sheriff shows up, and we're like calling everybody to try to beat him, and he was holding his ground like a mother effer.
Yeah, man. So shout outs to OG Ken. You are the man of many names. So. Now I learn more, so that kind of matters. So, but okay, so tell me, guys, so we're at the end, like I said. First things first, let me thank you guys for being on this episode. Like, it really means a lot, and this is very good for those who are like getting into HF and wants to hear. Like I said, I consider these two guys like the spokespersons for HF. They also mean ass players too, so don't get it twisted with that. But these guys are like, if you want directions in terms of playing in the community, meeting folks online and everything like that, you guys, you got to go to these two here. You definitely have to go to these two. So can you do me a favor? Where can people find you two, mostly?
I think I would say, you want to go ahead? You want to go ahead, Knock?
You go ahead, Sai.
Yeah. I would say the Facebook page, Street Fighter 2 live streams, Arcade 1-Up and Fightcade. You can find me there, and me and Knock there, and quite a few of us.
Right.
And the Discord page, I forgot the name. It was a Big Blue. What's the name of that Discord page for 1-Up?
Yeah, it's under Big Blue Yoga Flame Street Fighter. And the other one is obviously the general Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting Discord page.
Awesome.
Yeah, if you're in any of those, you'll see, me, Gnosticmessiah, and Jeff as Knocktsukow on there.
Excellent.
Yep.
So you hear it, folks. It will be in the description in terms of the Discord links and the Facebook link as well. So I appreciate you guys, like I said, being on this episode. It really means a lot. And this is like I said, this is the first that I interview two people instead of one people. But seeing that you guys go back so many years, it's only fitting that you both be on this episode. So it really means a lot that you guys are on here.
No, thank you for having us, man. It's my pleasure, and it's an honor to be part of the call today. And I'm a huge fan of your styles, your character, and everything like that. So personally, thank you for having us here, honestly.
Yeah, appreciate it, Megaman. Like Jeff said, we appreciate everything that you're doing for the community, what you're doing for this. And we learned a lot from you. Trust me. After you showed us quite a few tips in your matches, we actually talk on the side. Did you see that? You see how would he do that? We would ask you, and you would show us. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, man. I'm and I appreciate that. I like to educate. Sometimes I'm just like, I am open to like, if you guys have questions in regards about, Geef gameplay and all that stuff. It may not be. Well, folks will say it may not be the best, but it's like, it's funny because, well, I know this small story. How I kind of got into HF again was during COVID. First time playing with Eggs Bacon, Riz, Turbo Annihilator, and I'm like, the game feels sort of the same, sort of less, and. Like I said, I played it before years ago, kid. Now we're talking like COVID time, and I'm like, oh man. I mean, this Geef feels like old Geef, except there's no whiff animation. So it kind of made sense for me to play the exact same way. It's just that I feel like with this game, I feel like there is more. How can I say it? I want to say there is more expression that I could do with this Geef in HF, to be honest with you, because there's more. I feel like there's more to unlock, and it's funny because I'm like a mad scientist with them, because I tend to find out some crazy things that people would think it's not feasible. It's funny because people think it's not feasible to do, or it's like very, very unorthodox and anything. But when you kind of combine the unorthodox with the unorthodox with the asterisk and the non-feasible techniques, it's like actually really good, because it's hard to read. It's hard to read a person, and next thing you know, you're coming up with some new ideas that, hey, I've never seen this before, or what was your idea? What was your train of thought doing that? It was kind of things like that. But happy to really kind of show it to you guys and play against you guys. I'm like, you guys are killers, man. So obviously, you guys are like, like I said, even though you guys are like the spokespersons, but you guys are really tough. So I appreciate
Vince McMahon, the way he drive the WWE businesses, there's a difference, right? WCW promoter sits up on the high seat and be like, what's the rating tonight? You got Vince McMahon out there taking chair hits, getting Stone Cold Stunner. That's how you learn about the game and the business, right? Absolutely.
That is true. That is very true. Very true.
You gotta take losses and suffer to get better.
Very good. Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys being on this episode, and everybody, thank you for tuning into Megaman's Legends. So tune in for the next one, and I will see you guys later. Peace out.
Laters.
Sounds good. Goodbye, everybody. Ciao.
Bye.